In Unit 4, we return to strictly windy stuff. Here, Gavin outlines the premises of the Unit 5 case study model. The details are also in the downloadable course description on our public webpage, so for now, he'll just zip through at a high level. Before he does, though, I'd like to note how lucky we are to be able to access Gavin for this. In fact, I feel lucky he answered my first email, something I suspect a side of him regrets. This is getting a desk-side talk-through of modeling assumptions at a fairly fine level of detail for a first pathway course like this. From someone who not only likes making it accessible to newbies, but who really knows his stuff. He's seen a lot of different real-world offshore wind development options, and as for their associated costs, well, for what it's worth, he was the lead author of this 2016 study by the International Energy Agency. So he knows his beans from his onions.
Well, as you could see there, that was a team effort, just like the offshore wind valuations I've done in the wild. Anyway, to focus on the matter at hand for the case study, you'll find yourself in the shoes of a developer, eyeing up options for a wind farm off the coast of a notional, fictitious country. The licence area has both nearshore and farshore candidate areas. Both are plenty windy, and fortunately, are in shallow enough water for proven, fixed-bottom turbine technology. At first, you've had your eye on the near-shore site, and would like to get going right away, meaning at the start of January of year 1. After all, as you can see, under this fastest option, you won't even start generating until year 9. That's not uncommon at all for real-world projects at the 1 gigawatt total farm capacity scale like ours. 9 years is some way ahead, so you'd definitely like to get a move on. Trouble is, you can't. Most people in our fictitious country agree that increasing the share of power from renewables is a good thing. Some local stakeholders, however, object that the farm would be visible from beach developments, which contribute a lot to the local economy. Worried about the economic impacts, they win an injunction, stopping your project in its tracks, until either a court can rule on the matter, or, for some reason, they withdraw their petition. They tell you, in fact, what would make them do so. If you were to agree to move to a site in the same permitted farm development zone, but too far to be seen from shore, they would drop the claim. This offer raises some new options for you to consider. The sites, as it turns out, have different annual average wind speeds, and you do find such variations over just 20 kilometres in the real world, by the way. So, decisions. You start to tally up the pros and cons of each site. For example, your originally preferred nearshore option would have some benefits. Here are just 2 of many items we'll cover. But then again, it does have a lower average wind speed. Fortunately, in Unit 2, you'll already have been given these 2 mean wind speeds and quantified the additional generation benefit of going 60 kilometres out instead of 40. You'll be feeding that into the Unit 5 cash flow model, where it ultimately drives revenues. So, when you bring costs into the picture, without even crunching any numbers, you can already sense the outlines of a bit of an arm wrestling match between higher generation on one hand and added costs on the other. Costs will also vary depending on the 2 sites' water depths. And there are other options for you to consider relating to timing, because you start to wonder, if you win in court, how long would that take? A year? 2 years? 3 years? 3 years of delay would come with a bit of a sting there. Well, you don't know for sure. That's why, as you'll see, the case study model lets you specify the number of years of delay and see the economic impact, the same way you got used to in a mini model in Unit 3. Being able to measure this comes in handy when looking at still other options. That is, if, say, you wanted to hang around and try the far shore option, which you can do no matter what. Would it be, say, a good fallback option if all else failed? That is, would the higher winds offset both the higher technical costs and the impact of discounting, How many years of delay, if any, before some options turn into pumpkins? You'll see the answers are totally get-atable, but they aren't obvious. You have to run the numbers.
That's the fun of modeling this stuff. Gavin prepares you for other options too, like whether the total planned farm capacity of 1 gigawatt should be achieved with many smaller turbines or fewer big ones, to see whether among the options there are any economies of scale to be had.
And you'll see why our assumptions for the different cases are what they are. For example, our choices of fixed-bottom turbines, which, as you might guess, are a big deal to procure and install. As these are not floating turbines, they have to rest on something, leading to a walkthrough of the differences between two main types of foundations. One, basically giant steel tubes called monopiles. You don't normally see these, since they're mainly below the waterline, but they're pretty hefty. These get driven into the seabed. The other main foundation type is called a jacket. These are also not small, and they're also more bespoke and complex to design and build than monopiles. Jackets even come in different shapes and sizes, 3 legs, 4 legs, and with different ways of fixing them to the seabed. You'll get a drill down into the cost drivers of both monopiles and jackets. The options different distances from shore also impact cost factors like cabling. The export cable, which connects the wind farm to the grid connection onshore, is a chunky and expensive piece of kit, weighing in at approaching 100 kilograms or 200 pounds per metre for the type we are dealing with. And of course, greater lengths of cable mean higher procurement and installation costs. You'll see all our assumptions laid bare and explained for these and other major cost items, like different operations and maintenance approaches once the farm is up and running. By the time you finish Unit 4, you'll get a basic grounding in all the key project line items. This will leave you in good shape to see all the moving parts together in Unit 5. Beyond that, well, this broader understanding won't make you a wind farm cost estimation specialist, but it's a start. And meanwhile, it will give you plenty of good questions to ask one, if that ever comes in handy.